Yeah, so I think you would kind of hit on it. 72% of advisors are not talking about it.
Yes.
And I've got thousands of reasons why they're probably not. But that right there alone, if you start talking about it, you're just mentioning it, you're already standing out.
Yeah.
So that is probably the first step, is start to get comfortable with bringing it into the conversation. Now, what we found over the years was inserting a product, an insurance product, P&C insurance product, I should say, is not always the best solution at that time. When you're trying to add value in the prospect meeting or the client meeting, there is a time and a place for the client to get that P&C product. That's the tool that they're going to use to transfer the risk. But sometimes we see people trying to jam the product into that client conversation. So what we found is helpful is to actually introduce an assessment, whether it's a personal risk management assessment or a P&C insurance assessment, finding some way to introduce the assessment and show them exactly where they're exposed and what is threatening their success. Because that's what you're after in that financial planning process is you've got assets that you're going to invest in us or with us. We're trying to grow those assets. We need to make sure that we're protecting that. We're less concerned with protecting, your scooter that's worth $2,500.
Yeah.
We're concerned with the liability associated with driving that scooter, but not necessarily the physical damage to it. So I would say, to summarize that point, it's A, start bringing it up, but then B, focus initially on the assessment piece and how they can, how you can show the client where they're exposed. That's a great place to start because now the client's buying in, they care about it as opposed to simply just trying to jam another product on through.
Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and I am here with Nick Obi from Risk Manager. And today's video is going to be a little bit different than normal. I do a lot of content, obviously, on how to create wealth. I think in this industry as a whole, we do a lot of, we put a lot of energy and time into talking about how to create wealth, how to protect our wealth from market risks and, make sure that we don't lose our money and lose our capital. But I think a lot of times we overstep or maybe ignore some of the most important components of protecting our wealth, which is looking at our risk management side. Now, I've been working with Nick here for over a year now. And, in my last conversation that he and I had kind of offline, so to speak, we were just having these conversations about what does this look like? How can we help advisors show up more powerfully in the lives for their clients? And if you've watched this channel for any amount of time, you've heard me say, if you want to differentiate yourself in the marketplace, you better be different. You better show up differently. And so in the last conversation I had with Nick, he did a pretty compelling job convincing me that, really utilizing risk management or at least as an advisor, understanding the risk management side of the business can be a really, really good way to differentiate yourself with your clients and help educate them and have a more articulate conversation around all this. And so I thought, what better way to help advisors learn how to have this basic conversation with clients than to get Nick on here, have a conversation about how to use the conversation around risk management to ultimately sell more life insurance. So Nick, thanks for being here, buddy.
Chris, what is going on? Dude, that's a wrap. You nailed it.
Just that is the short version right there.
Yeah, that's it.
For the YouTube shorts, here we go. That is it. And so there's
there might be just a little bit more to it than that, but I think you covered it.
That's the Cliff Notes version.
Exactly.
Right. For everybody out there that was like me in high school that just went out and got the Cliff Notes. And I remember doing an essay when I was, I think, a freshman in high school, Catcher in the Rye. And I didn't read the book at all or whatever. And I just went to Barnes and Noble and bought the Cliff Notes version and, wrote the essay and I don't know.
Yeah, no, but dude, I was the same way, except there was one exam I didn't have the Cliff Notes in time. It was How to Kill a Mockingbird. It turns out that book is not about hunting.
No.
Or To Kill a Mockingbird. I can't even get the title right.
I don't know. Is it How to Kill a Mockingbird?
I don't know.
Anyway.
I think it's To Kill. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, Cliff Notes, not always doing you a favor.
No, exactly. So let's dive into this, Nick. We talk about 3 ways, and I'm looking at some notes right now. So I'm gonna kind of go through this because you sent me some stuff to follow up on our last conversation. I think it's really, really good. And I'm gonna read a couple of these, but I want to get you to kind of give me some feedback on some of this and talk to me about what your experience is with this, because I know, with your program and what you do, you've been engaging with a lot of advisors, you work with a lot of clients, you've been in the risk management space for a long time, been extremely successful. You work all over the country in especially like the high-end risk management space, the luxury market, so to speak, as well. But, one of the things that you really hammered home is the fact that if you can get your clients to understand the importance of risk management as a full spectrum, view. And I do want to say that this is important, but so I'm going to sidestep 1 second here. When we have all of our clients go through and fill out what we call the financial X-ray, the Life 180 X-ray, we have all the risk management, components in there. What are your insurances and coverages, umbrella, disability, any other kind of lines of coverage that, are the alternative exposures. And the reality is most people don't have them. So I look at these things every day. And that's where we started talking, and is people don't have them. And so the question, and you made the statement that as an advisor, as an insurance advisor, and I hate using the word insurance agent because, you shouldn't just be an agent because an agent sells. You need to be positioning yourself as an advisor, right? And as an advisor, if you're doing your job, you should be able to get more referrals. And so talk to me about how having this conversation around lifestyle risk management, you're able to pick up more referrals from your clients.
Yeah, so I think you hit the nail on the head. As an advisor, you want to differentiate yourself. Everybody's trying to differentiate themselves in some way. And what we found over and over again is personal risk management, P&C, insurance support. It was really underutilized in the financial advising space. And there's a Chubb study that was done. Chubb is one of the top, well, they're a top insurance company, regardless, but they're top in the high net worth kind of luxury high-end client space, personal insurance space. So they put out a study, and that was one of the components that resulted from the study, is that clients were actually 49% more likely to recommend their financial advisor if they offered P&C and risk management support. So the idea is that these people are looking for that information. There was two other parts to it. One was there 77% of people, of clients, are looking for P&C support from their agent, and 85% are looking for them to be their quarterback. So they're looking for this guidance. They're not maybe getting it in other areas, or maybe they haven't done it. They haven't done a review in a long time around their P&C. They're moving their stuff to an advisor, and they're looking for help in every aspect. So it was consistently, we saw it where financial advisors weren't talking about it, yet there was a huge opportunity to talk about it because people are asking for it.
That's awesome. And here's the bottom line. Like, we focus on a lot of infinite banking stuff. And I know you've talked about that with me a lot, and you do that yourself. Yeah. And, and I wrote this book, Cash Flow Hacking, just, and so the bottom line is you can't, as an agent, right, as an advisor, as a financial professional, you can't know everything. You know what I mean? And so you just can't. And so it's really important to make sure that, that you have a team of resources and people that you can plug into, right? So I think what's really interesting here is you got to build your network, and it, like, for instance, it wouldn't have to be somebody like, or be Nick specifically, but I think it's really important that everybody has like their team, you know what I mean, of people that they know they can trust, right? Like, so if I'm going out and I'm working with a high net worth person that's wanting to buy a real estate property, and then they go through the X-ray and they fill out and they show that they're lacking coverages in certain areas, or their finances are like overly exposed to risk because they're underinsured in other ways, or maybe they don't have an umbrella policy. Maybe it's more complicated. Maybe you don't understand it, but you just kind of can look at it and you can be like, well, for this person in this net worth situation or this income, I know that kind of like a rule is they should have an umbrella policy at a minimum. And so I don't need to know everything to know that should be there. And so to have a person on your team that is the expert in that area, it's the old Henry Ford concept is I don't know how to build a car, but I know what buttons to push to get the people in the right area, right? Like, I don't need to know how to do it. I just need to know who to call to do it, right? So if you build your team and you become that advisor that is the quarterback, or like the coach that distributes, right? Like
Yep.
for the client, then that's going to build trust, right? And when you build trust with a client, you're going to get more referrals, right? So not only are they more likely to work with you, but you're going to get more referrals.
Well, and we all know that's one of the easiest ways to grow. And one of the best ways to grow is if you identify a specific client or type of client that you're working with, they're probably running in the circles that you want to be attracting clients from. So if you can get their trust, if you can show them advice in other areas, then you're more likely to get introductions from them.
Well, and so the other thing that you said is most advisors are not talking to their clients about P&C insurance, right? And I intentionally put this stuff on the X-ray because I think it's a vital component, not just because of the risk, but honestly because coverages are improperly, which I guess that comes to risk, but making sure that you're not overspending at the same time. Like, so, there's so many insurance plans out there that are a ripoff, and there's, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're not underinsured, right? Like, and so you want to make sure whatever you have, you're getting the right value and it's the proper or appropriate coverage for what your needs are.
Oh, 100%. And I'll spare everybody the specific policy details, even though we could talk for hours about that stuff. But there's really two types of risks. There's risk that threatens your own property, stuff that you own, and then there's the risk that actually threatens your success. And when you look at that, that is really when we see one of the most common things that we see is that that's the part that's underinsured the most. So somebody might have they've built up significant success or wealth, and they have that set aside. They don't have that properly protected, but then they have a $250 auto policy deductible. So you're actually insuring the wrong risk. You'd rather raise your auto deductible to a much more significant level, $1,000, $2,500, whatever it may be, and then you can actually take that savings and apply it to the correct protection on the wealth side. So it doesn't always mean you have to spend more. There's better ways to structure it. There's more efficient ways to structure insurance policies to make sure that you're getting the right protection without necessarily overspending. And it's really, like you said, it's that value, it's that balance of trying to achieve everything.
Like anything else, it's just a tool, right? And how you use that tool and how it fits into what your specific needs and plan is the most important component.
Absolutely.
Totally, man. So talk to me then about how you can create a better experience, right? Like, so you for your clients, and just an overall better experience process by integrating, having this conversation around the P&C side or the other kind of risk assessment side outside of the what the normal traditional life insurance agent or financial advisor would do. Yeah,
so I think you'd kind of hit on it. 72% of advisors are not talking about it.
Yes.
And I've got thousands of reasons why they're probably not. But that right there alone, if you start talking about it, you're just mentioning it, you're already standing out.
Yeah.
So that is probably the first step, is start to get comfortable with bringing it into the conversation. Now, what we found over the years was inserting a product, an insurance product, P&C insurance product, I should say, is not always the best solution at that time when you're trying to add value in the prospect meeting or the client meeting. There is a time and a place for the client to get that P&C product. That's the tool that they're going to use to transfer the risk. But sometimes we see people trying to jam the product into that client conversation. So what we found is helpful is to actually introduce an assessment, whether it's a personal risk management assessment or a P&C insurance assessment, finding some way to introduce the assessment and show them exactly where they're exposed and what is threatening their success. Because that's what you're after in that financial planning process is you've got assets that you're going to invest in us or with us. We're trying to grow those assets. We need to make sure that we're protecting that. We're less concerned with protecting, your scooter that's worth $2,500.
Yeah.
We're concerned with the liability associated with driving that scooter, but not necessarily the physical damage to it. So I would say, to summarize that point, it's A, start bringing it up, but then B, focus initially on the assessment piece and how they can how you can show the client where they're exposed. That's a great place to start because now the client's buying in, they care about it as opposed to simply just trying to jam another product on them.
So I always tell agents, like, if you want to be successful at this, you can't go out and sell things. You got to ask great questions and be able to identify challenges of your clients and articulate the solutions to their problems, to their challenges, right? And so
Right.
this is a way, like, for all of our team at Life 180, we sell a lot of whole life insurance. We work with people on their banking alternatives and how to fund real estate and how to do all these kind of other things. But the bottom line is, utilizing this conversation can help establish credibility, trust. It lets them realize that you're asking these questions that really are looking comprehensively at their full picture. So it's not you just trying to sell something. You're really just showing up as an advisor that's trying to figure out holistically, what is this person trying to accomplish? What is your client trying to accomplish? What's kind of that gap for them, in getting there. And once they get the policy in place, for the banking policy, let's say, for the real estate investment, what are the risks that they're going to incur there? And persistency is a big thing in the business. When people go this route, it's a long-term view. So you want to keep business on the books and you want to write good business and you want to work with the right people. And I'm a big believer, like, if you come at this holistically and comprehensively, your process includes all this, you're going to have better clients that stick with you more long-term. And then in turn, as we've said before, you're going to get a lot more referrals out of the process. So.
Yeah. And, I'm going to throw another statistic at you and people are going to think I'm this stat guy. I'm really not that great with numbers. I just happen to know, I happen to get these stats down. So the same Chubb study showed that a client is 47% basically increased satisfaction and likely to stay longer. If you're talking about P&C and personal risk management, if you're bringing that into the conversation. So I think it plays right into what you're talking about of trying to create that long-term relationship and really serving as their true advisor, not just trying to sell them a product.
Well, what's crazy about that, and I've experienced this so many times, is, and one of the most important parts is there's so many differing opinions in the industry about what to do with your money, how to handle insurances, and how to invest. And the bottom line is, if I were to work with somebody, and I'm not licensed, so I can't, but like, if I had somebody on my team that was working with somebody, right? And they were going out and they worked with Joe Blow, Mr. Client, right? And they set him up and it was this great policy. Well, now Joe all of a sudden goes down the street and he talks to some other advisor that doesn't understand your plan. And because maybe he's dealing with the P&C side, but maybe he also sells whole life insurance. Maybe he also sells index universal life insurance or some other thing. Right. And he's going to look at what you did and be like, oh no, that's not good. You should do this and that. And they start to meddle with everything you did. So if you can, really encapsulate this client with the real support of a network and a team of people that you have in place that support your methodologies and understand what your planning is all about and how what they do on the P&C side fits into what you're doing over here. It's a great way. Plus, it's a great way to get referrals. If you're building your team, you're building that little network of a real estate agent, a mortgage person, a P&C. It's a big deal. And I know we're not talking about all those other things, but the bottom line is it all kind of comes together.
No, I 100% agree. And it, wow, I just totally lost my train of thought. Oh, here's what I was going. I was about to speak and I'm like blank.
It's okay. It happens.
When we're talking about the strategy and making sure everybody's on the same page, that's the biggest part, I think, kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier. What can you do as the financial advisor is incorporate the P&C and personal risk management conversation as part of the strategy. I think where we see people go wrong is they just try and sub in a product. Here, go get an umbrella policy. You're all set. It's more than just the umbrella. That's a great starting point because, like we said, most financial advisors aren't talking about it at all. But in addition to recommending an umbrella, it's how do you structure that umbrella? What does that look like? What's the policy limit? What needs to be listed as underlying? So it's much more of a strategy conversation than simply a product conversation. And the more you can incorporate that, I think you're going to do exactly what you said. You're going to stand out and you're going to keep your clients longer.
Love it, man. Well, Nick, awesome talk. Is there anything else you think we need to cover here? I think we pretty much banged that out. I think we
I think we got it all. I mean,
Awesome.
unless you want to take another couple hours to go through this stuff, because I'm happy to
Exactly.
go through it in depth, but
Awesome.
but I think we got it all.
That's amazing. Well, I tell you what, guys, if you have any questions at all, go ahead and comment in the comment section below. We will do our best to engage with every single one. I will make sure Nick is checking this comment thread so he can engage with you as well.
Absolutely.
And so any questions, just comment in the comment section below. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscription button, say that 10 times fast. Smash the bell, that way you get notified every time we launch a new video. Till next time, have a blessed, inspirational day. We'll talk soon. See ya.